Hey guys, Philip with Royal Range here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Smith Wesson Shield 2.0 and some of the differences that they place in the 2.0 compared to just the original Gen 1 Shield. So let's get right into it. The first two guns I have in front of me right now are going to be the 2.0 9mm with a safety and the 2.0 9mm without a safety in the Crimson Trace. So what are the first things that we see as far as differences on the gun? First thing is going to be, the most obvious is going to be the stippling, and I'll bring in the Gen 1 here just to give you a little bit of a contrast between the two. Your stippling on your new grip is going to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit finer, and you're going to have a little bit more of it. So you're going to, in the middle section here where it wasn't in the Gen 1, we're going to have some stippling here, some texturing. Also, the same texturing is going to be brought down into your magazine sleeve on the 8-round magazines. So that's one of the first things that you're going to notice. And I do like this texturing. It gives it obviously a lot more positive feel in the hand. It's going to be pretty aggressive where your hand's not going to slip on it, whether your hand gets a little sweaty or in a worst case scenario a little bloody. It's going to be able to keep you in the fight and really give you a good grip on that gun so you can maintain all your manipulations and stuff you need to do. So overall, I do like the texturing. It's very similar to some of the custom texturing and stippling that you would see on a lot of these Glock guns and competition guns. Next, they did some scalloping in your slide on the front. And this would be really useful when it comes to press checks. Again, if that gun gets wet in any way, or you have a bunch of oil on it, whatever, you're still going to be able to get a good purchase on it and do your press checks if that's your cup of tea. One of the differences between your standard one and the Crimson Trace is obviously the laser. And I like the way that they did this laser. They integrated it into the actual frame. So it's not something you have to strap on to your trigger guard where it's going to take up a bunch of space. It's very, very simple and kind of intuitive the way it works. Is your finger really lays pretty easily on that button when you're just using the gun. And it looks pretty slick. It looks very similar to Smith Wesson Bodyguard in the way that they did their laser back then. So between these two guns, one question as far as a practical every day if you're looking into buying one of these guns is magazines. So this is the magazine from the original Shield. I'll pick this gun up and show you that the magazines still work. So your Gen 2 magazines or your Gen 1 will work in your Gen 2. The only real downside is you're not going to have the same texturing around the sleeve on the magazine. So that is a little bit of a compromise, but as far as function, they still work. So if you have a Shield and you're interested in the Shield 2.0, your investment in your magazines, you don't have to lose that. You don't have to get rid of the magazines. You can keep the magazines. As far as another practicality, holsters. So if you have a Shield previously, then all the same holsters will work. Every holster that I've put this gun in for a standard Shield works just fine. This particular example is a Green Force holster. It's a custom Kydex, and this one actually has an ulti-clip on it, so it's really useful for if you're not wearing a pant that has a belt on it to where you can firmly attach it to you. This ulti-clip will pretty much clamp onto whatever material. But anyway, it fits in this. We have a Safari Land. I think this is an ALS holster, and it fits just fine in there. And then you have a cheaper option, this little Blackhawk ARC holster, and it does fit in there also. Now the downside, if you are interested in the Crimson Trace holster, it does not fit. Obviously this molding is going to be a little bit different. If you had a holster that fit any of the variety of trigger guard lasers, then that probably won't work either. It won't fit in any of the ones that fit on a standard Shield. So that is kind of a disadvantage for the laser, but that's kind of to be expected. Most firearms with lasers, it can be pretty difficult to find some holsters for it. So hopefully they're going to come out with something that will fit this one with the laser. But as far as major differences, one of the things that Smith & Wesson is kind of toting is they redid the trigger on the 2.0. Let me grab the original again. So they're saying on the 2.0 that they kind of redid the trigger, and I'd be willing to say that I can feel a difference in it. it's a little bit more positive, a little bit more crisp break on the 2.0 than the original. And a lot of people, one of the big criticisms of the original Shield is that it was kind of a spongy or a gritty trigger, if you will. On the 2.0, it's more of a positive. You have a little bit of a take up, and then you hit your wall, and then it has a pretty crisp break through it. It's not very gritty. Also, on your reset, it's a little bit more tactile and audible, meaning you can feel it. It's a little bit more positive feel when the trigger resets, and you can also hear it. So that's one of the things that's pretty useful if you're training yourself to kind of reset a trigger, to be able to feel and hear it, excuse me. So those are really good options on it. All the other specs are pretty much the same. It takes the same capacity, so you have your 8-round and your 7-round magazine, plus one in the chamber. Your manual safety is located in the same spot, and depending on your thought process, some people like safety, some people don't. The safeties on here, you can take this as a positive or negative. The safeties on here are pretty low profile, and everything is that they're designed to not really snag. And this is pretty similar on your Gen 1s and your 2.0s here. But one of the advantages, if you buy one with a safety and you don't want to carry it with a safety, depending on your thought process, it's very low profile, so you can just keep it off and carry it, put it in a good holster and you'll be fine, just like you would if you were carrying one without a safety. So there's no, in my mind, there's no real compromise of carrying one of these with a safety, because you can choose to use it or not. If you want to bring it home, you have kids in the house, and you want an extra level of protection, slap that safety on and you're good to go. But as far as the major differences, that's about it, guys. We're going to spend some time shooting it and kind of getting a feel for it and see if there's any major differences that we can feel between the two. But as far as just actual specs, that's about it. But we're going to load them up, send some lead down range, and see how they shoot. One thing I think I forgot to mention, is it does come with 2 magazines. It comes with a 7 and 8 rounders. We're going to give it a whirl with the 7 rounders here and see how it works. Safety off. Shoots pretty well. I would say if you're used to a Shield, you're going to be used to this gun. It's pretty similar. Now, one thing I was thinking about was this texturing. Now, if you're going to be carrying this inside the waistband, it's going to be a consideration of this texture. I normally wear an undershirt. I wear an undershirt and then I wear whatever shirt I'm normally wearing. You're probably going to want to wear an undershirt if you're going to be carrying this gun. The texturing would feel pretty rough against your skin. If you just kind of rub it against this, you can imagine against your belly or on your back, depending on where you're carrying this gun. It is pretty aggressive, so that's a consideration of where you're going to carry it and how you're going to carry it. One option is you could take some sandpaper and kind of just bring this down a little bit if you wanted to. But just keep that in mind when you're considering buying a 2.0, is that feel the texture and think about what it's going to feel like as you actually carry it. All right, this is actually a Gen 1 magazine from the original Shield, and just to show you its function through a 2.0. Work just fine. So that investment you have in magazines is gonna keep. Now we have a standard 8-round magazine for the 2.0. It's got the different texturing on your magazine spacer. So the sights work just fine. Also, I think I forgot to mention, night sights will work on the 2.0. They seem to be the exact same dovetails front and back. So all your night sights that you have for the standard Shield should fit on this 2.0. I don't have any problems. It's a standard 3-dot system like you are used to on the regular one, and it works just fine. I think we're at 10 or 15 yards, and we have a group on target probably that big. So as far as functionality of the gun, still a very accurate gun, very reliable gun. So overall, I do like the texturing. I like the scalloping up front. So that's kind of the new offering from Shield, the Smith & Wesson Shield 2.0. Thanks for watching, guys.